Hi, it's Ileana. So I had recently done a remote viewing on an attempt to have an implant inserted into someone's foot, left foot. It was an interesting experience because the implant itself was a decoy. It wasn't the actual thing that the beings were trying to insert in the person. They were trying to insert something called the cosmic rift, where it shatters the bones inside the foot. It's supposed to. Basically, it has a certain frequency where it shatters living matter inside wherever the decoy implant is supposed to go. So that's just the decoy. But it's supposed to, the cosmic rift frequency is what they were trying to insert. But the person's higher self protected them from the implant decoy coming anywhere near them and from this cosmic rift frequency going into their left foot, the heel of the foot specifically. So the person did end up having pain on their foot from the experience of the failed decoy implant and from the failed cosmic rift frequency. It's like the beings were trying to insert dark matter into the person's foot on an energy frequency scale. And the person had x-rays done of that foot, of the heel of the foot, and nothing is showing up despite them having physical pain. But this just is a matter of, why is the person feeling physical pain? What happened? So we had a look. When I read the person themselves, their higher self said, I protected them from the implant decoy and from the cosmic rift frequency, from dark matter entering into the foot. Because the person had psychically looked at several people that they shouldn't have. They triggered the people's, I guess, the ET minions. That's the best way I can say this, because these were interfering extraterrestrials. So there's greys and another species that were involved. And again, when the person went to psychically look at two individuals to check them for whatever they wanted to know about them, it triggered this cascade effect of their off-world handlers, those people's off-world handlers. Yes, sometimes there's negative extraterrestrials. There's the good guys, there's the bad guys, and everything in between. They do exist. I saw this in the psychic reading when I did it, because that person's higher self told me that they blocked the decoy implant, and the implant itself was real. It was triangular, and it had its own frequency as well to track the person. What they're doing psychically, their movements, it was to track them. So it was a tracker implant. But it was kind of like the front-loaded decoy, not to see the cosmic rift frequency behind it, what came secondary implantation attempt. The higher self of that person blocked both those things from happening. But the person still felt physical pain, and so they came to me to figure out what happened, because they didn't even know that there was implantation attempts. They just felt physical pain in their left foot. So they came to me and they asked me to scan them. And when I scanned the foot, I could feel a sort of like a black void energy frequency, that something was attempted on the foot as a point of entry in the heel, in the soft tissue between the soft tissue of the heel and the bone. And they said they still had pain several days going into this, after they'd done the psychic checks on the people that they were looking into. And so I said, I'll scan the foot and I'll scan all your body. And I did. And yes, in the left foot, it showed an unpleasant energy, that something happened. But there wasn't any implants inside. But I also went and did a remote viewing. They told me the date when the pain started and when they'd done the psychic readings, checks on 2 people. So they had a firm date. And when they gave me the date, I went into that particular date and it showed me what was happening through that remote viewing. Again, I never know what remote viewing will show me, but in this case, all I had was that particular date. And it showed me the handlers, the off-world handlers, and it also showed me the people who the person was psychically looking into through that remote viewing. I ended up doing 2 remote viewings, first on the implant decoy, the tracker, and then on this cosmic rift frequency energy and what it was trying to do. So sometimes when someone is psychically looking at other people or beings, this can trigger other things to happen. If those people have cosmic protectors, like the good side, you will just be blocked from viewing those people. If they have other types of beings around them, even if they're not pleasant or if they're negative, if you trigger the frequency of the psychic check on those people, that could cause that in itself, like if certain triggers are pushed and these beings become aware of you, that you're trying to read the people that they're behind, that they stand behind and influence, then those beings will potentially respond to the trigger points and send something at you as an attempt to block you. And that can be in the form of implants or even bad frequencies that can attempt to kill you, like what happened to this person. So even though these things failed, the person still had physical pain of an energetic wounding. It felt like there was an open wound that needed to be energetically healed and closed. And I told them to go get an x-ray of the foot, just in case, because sometimes x-rays can show something and sometimes they won't, depending on what was going on to the person. I still wanted them to get an x-ray, and they did. And so far, the x-ray seems to be okay. They're going to get the results of it, physical hard copy results, to make sure that everything is good. So far, their doctor hasn't contacted them to say, oh, there's a problem with your x-rays. So I followed up with the person just to make sure they're okay, and they seem to be doing just fine. But again, if somebody is psychically looking at something, remote viewing someone, always set your protection to make sure that other beings are not going to detect you. Even if you're very powerful as a psychic, you can protect yourself. Sometimes things can happen beyond 3D, when we're not in 3D, when we're in 4D, when we're in the astral plane, or when we're connecting to somebody else's energy. Those people might have protector teams, and if it's the positive side, they won't do anything to you. They'll just block you from looking at the person. And if it's not the positive side, like what happened with this person, they might come after you. They might attack you or try to implant you with something, which is very wrong. It's against universal law to do this in this particular universe which we're in. But some of these beings don't care, and they just do whatever they want because they're thinking that they're protecting their own assets. So they don't have that moral code, the sense of, oh, they're hurting others and they're doing something wrong, because to them, they're just protecting their asset. That's it. That's what they're doing to prevent you from looking at them. This person was still able to, they're a powerful psychic. They were able to see the two people that they were reading, but they had an encounter with those people's handlers, for lack of a better word, off-world extraterrestrial handlers. And sometimes people will have those for whatever reason, for contracts, soul agreements, or just interaction. Sometimes they're not even fully aware that how they're connected to these beings. That can happen in certain instances. So this person was able to get the reading information on these people that they wanted, but they encountered triggers and they encountered attacks, frequency attacks on themselves. Thankfully, their higher self is great and they protected the person. They let them know that even the higher self let the person know that something happened and it was blocked. They were blocked from being implanted with something that shouldn't be in their system. But they wanted to know more information, so they connected with me and we looked at it and we figured out what happened through a psychic reading and 2 remote viewing sessions. Because this was something that's beyond normal and shouldn't be happening to people, but when things are happening off-world, things can happen that we don't expect. And if it does happen, we deal the best that we can with it. And sometimes we seek help to see the fuller answers to what happened. So this was a very interesting remote viewing for me. It is a private remote viewing, so I can't show it because it's a client's foot, but I can describe it. I was given permission to talk about what can happen with implants, because this triangular implant of the Greys, it was physical, and the cosmic rift frequency, that was pure energetics. So they had 2 multiple things that these Greys were trying to do to this person, because these Greys are protecting their human asset. And there's different kinds of reptilian Grey hybrids, human hybrids mixed with these genetics, and they could have handlers of their own. There is Psychar reptilian human hybrids. There's also Grey human hybrids on Earth, and they have their own handler protectors. So they could be connected to the beings who they were hybridized with as their handlers or something else. So this is a time of examining what's going on in the universe, and we are encountering different beings interacting with humans, off-world beings, positives and negatives. So it's really important to be careful to energetically and physically protect yourself before you do any psychic stuff. Before you look at anybody, protect yourself, wear your crystals, put in a protection mantra, raise your energy shields, your auric field around yourself to protect yourself. And always know if something feels wrong, that you can investigate within yourself, within the body, and see what's going on with you energetically and physically. Like this person had awareness of what was happening to them and why, and they had the date and dates of when things were happening, so you could backtrack and have a look at that stuff too, because it exists in your Akashic record. No matter what anybody tells you that your memories can be wiped in a program or anything like that, they can maybe be wiped in the brain, in the physical brain. The memories can be wiped, but they're never wiped from your Akashic records. Everything is stored in the Akashic record of all your soul existences, all your lifetimes in the current one. Nothing can be erased from your personal Akashic record. Nothing. People have asked me the question of this. I was in the secret space program and I have missing memories. They were wiped. Can't remember fully what happened to me. And I say this, maybe in your brain, some of this was wiped or covered up in the subconsciousness where your memories are stored. But on the Akashic records, in your Akashic records, those memories still exist. And if you work with the Akashic records, or if you work with people who can access them, those memories can be retrieved. And people's memories have been retrieved from the memory retrieval course that I had created. They've been able to retrieve even erased memories from the subconsciousness, because nothing is ever really truly erased. This is something else that was asked. How can I retrieve my erased memories? The mind wipes, or the photonic memory inserts that were created to cover up my own memories. Nothing is ever truly lost in the subconsciousness. It could be buried or slightly erased, but in that Akashic field of your records, that information always exists, and it can be found and retrieved. If you know how to access your Akashic records, or if you work with people you trust to help you access the Akashic records, it can be retrieved. I've done it on myself. I've done my own memory retrieval stuff with my protocols, and it does work. Nothing is truly ever erased completely or lost. Things can be retrieved. So thank you so much, and namaste.